Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having a conversation with Dr. Stephen Poloz. He's former governor of the Bank of Canada. Stephen, obviously, looking at Canada specifically now, we were able to, so far, avoid a recession, but inflation seems to be kind of persistent. It is declining, but it's still there. What's your assessment of the current situation that that Canadians face?
Yeah, well, you're right. We have averted a recession, as you said, so far, and I would have to say we barely averted a recession, and we have an economy that's a bit like, having your head in the oven and your feet in the freezer. There's a lot of negatives out there that have some offsets, and so for some people, it already feels like a recession.
Mm.
Certainly, it's a consumer recession, a household consumption. Divided by population, that is adjusted for population growth, has been declining for quite a while for the past year. Stress is still rising in the household sector as more and more people have to renew their mortgages. Stress is rising, by the way, also in the business sector because they were able to lock in longer debt at an early stage, but now those things are coming up for renewal, and so bankruptcies are rising quite strongly right about now. So it's
Mm.
a good reminder that once we've set and trained disinflationary momentum, which we clearly have, uh, we know it takes a while to start disinflationary momentum. It takes about a year, but it also takes a year to stop disinflationary momentum. And so it's why monetary policy is like, as Wayne Gretzky always said, you got to skate to where the puck will be, or put the puck where the guy's going to be, not where he is.
Right.
And the economy already has this track, and so we have to be thinking ahead to what things will look like a year or 18 months from now. So that's important. So we're in that situation now, and it has still got that momentum. And so, as you say, inflation does look a little sticky or persistent. But I really think people think I don't want to make an exact forecast, and I'm sure not going to
Right.
give you a decimal point on anything today.
No, no.
There's just not an environment for that. But I think people should be thinking about three possible scenarios and prepare their business or their household finances for all three. Think them through. So the first is that there could very easily be a resurgence of inflation. We've got
Mm.
lots of upticks now in the commodity space, and oil prices are over $80 again, and we've got a lot of tension both in the Middle East and Ukraine, elsewhere. And so it's not out beyond the possibility at all that we would have a resurgence, in which case interest rates would probably go up some more, and we'd have a for sure stagflation kind of recession combined
Right.
with rising inflation. Scary scenario, but I think we need to mentally be prepared for it. But the more likely one, as you say, is sticky inflation, and that's driven mainly by persistent wage pressure, which everybody comments on. Wages are still running around 5%, which is a little too high for 2% inflation. But here I would just say that it's important to note that those data are being distorted by something really important that you're familiar with. That's the retirement wave.
Right.
So, like 15,000 people or so are retiring almost every month. Now, if someone's retired after 30 years or 35 years, there's a high chance, there's a chance there's some sort of a manager in the organization. And what it looks like is companies are doing is pre-promoting or pre-hiring replacement managers. So you have duality during the
Oh,
transition to retirement because the number of managerial jobs is growing at a double-digit pace right
mm.
now. And that can only be because of something like I just described. That means you're paying two people to do the same job for a while, right? But it also means, that managers earn about double the average. And so it pushes up the wage numbers that we get in the labor force survey. If you look at the survey of employment payroll and hours, which we get a month later and people don't pay as much attention to it, they have a fixed weight wage index. And what that shows is much slower wage growth, which I think means that we don't actually have a risk of sticky inflation from wages. But
Gotcha.
it's a hard statement to make definitively. But my preferred scenario, Tony, is that inflation continues to fall faster than the models predict. That's both because of that consumer recession I already talked about. There's an investment recession that we're
Right.
well aware of. We only got growth from exports, mainly of oil. That's one thing which is great, but it's like the only thing. And technology is introducing downward pressure on prices, as it
Sure.
always does. So all those things suggest to me the models are predicting inflation to be too high and too sticky. It's going to continue to be better news than we expect, like it has, say, 8 out of the last 12 months.
Sure. We're going to continue with our guest right after these commercial breaks. Please stay with us.